Hi everyone, it's Margaret here with Sixtyandme. Hope you're doing well today. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your company on this journey. We've got a topic today that I think will be very relevant to many of you, and that is this whole idea about fight and flight. How we deal with situations in our life that initiate a response that is like at the other opposite extreme. Now, Penelope Whiteley, one of our bloggers, wrote this article on, when things get tough, do you fight or fly? Do you follow the flight technique or the fight technique? And it's a really cool look at how we deal with stress, how we deal with situations that are challenging. And I just want to share that with you. Now, do you remember that movie, The Jewel in the Nile? Or Jewel of the Nile? It was, I think it was one with that song, When the Going Gets Tough, the Tough Get Going. Billy Ocean sang the song, but it was that whole idea of when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And if there isn't a woman watching this who's over 60 who doesn't feel that that's kind of the mantra for your life and for your being, you have probably had so many experiences in your life where you have just had a tough time and you have just got going. You just dealt with it. And I know we can all relate to that. But I think that, we can all go back to the nostalgia for the 80s and that song. But in the truth of the matter is that our bodies are programmed to respond in one of these two ways. And I just want to chat with you about how we mature, when we mature, the actual flight option is not always an option. We can't always just pick up and leave or change our location or move, but we can move on. So we can modify this whole fight and flight analogy. So we've all dealt with tough situations. Maybe many of us have had children. We've dealt with, work situations, financial crises, and we've all got memories of fearsome events where we actually had to fight or, implement flight, had to fly away, or we had to fight. And that reaction is so natural to our being that we sometimes do it spontaneously. So I know, well, I moved around quite a bit when I was young, and I think that I was implementing the flight technique. This was one of my strategies for dealing with difficult situations, and maybe that's what you've done as well. But I think that, we don't realize that behind the scenes, our body is doing some work for us here. So think about your sympathetic nervous system. This is the fight or flight engine. So think about it it's like the accelerator. It's like this pedal. That when something happens to you that is really, really stressful or challenging or scary, the pedal gets pushed and that accelerator just then gushes our body with hormones. And those hormones either lead us to a fight where we stand our ground and we just say, no, I'm going to face this. I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to be successful with it, or I'm going to fly away. I'm going to avoid it. I'm going to avoid it or run away from it in some way. And that is what she calls the FFF, or the triple F response. It's the fight, flight, or freeze. So there's the freeze one too, which is kind of almost a precursor to the other two. Has anything ever happened to you that was so dramatic that you actually were like frozen, like you couldn't decide what to do? Like it was, maybe there was an injury, maybe there was something that happened that was such a traumatic experience that you had to freeze for a bit before your body actually decided it was going to respond and fight, or it was going to avoid. It's a really cool concept. So what causes enough stress to trigger a fight or flight response? Everybody is different. And this is what's so interesting, is that sometimes it's just simply like driving in a car with someone for the first time, a new driver. You've never driven with this person and you have no idea how good they are as a driver. And it's just that kind of, that fear that you want to just get out of the car, or you want to just like say, okay, I'm going to stick with this out. I'm going to fight it out. Is it like insects? I personally do not like ants. I'm allergic to certain kinds of ants, and so I don't like them at all. And I don't like spiders. I'm sorry. And bees. Insects. Let's categorize it as insects. So I actually do freeze sometimes when I see bees or ants, because when I get stung by them, I have a reaction. But maybe it's something, just a simple thing. Maybe some people don't even care about spiders, but they don't like cats. Or they don't, you know what I mean? It's like everybody's different. Everyone's got something that really makes them feel panicked and scared. For me, it's insects. It could be people just refusing to follow a rule. Like if everybody agrees to do something and then one person says no, They actually, create a kind of a counterpoint to something that you really believe in. It could be something that just not so much is fearful, but annoys you. That's something that's, creates an energy in you that makes you want to act, to take some action, fight, fly, or freeze. It could be new situations. Could be talking in front of a crowd. Oh, I know another thing for me is heights. Now, it's funny, I like flying. I don't mind being up high, but I don't like being on a high building. So it's just like, are you afraid of heights or water? A lot of people are really scared of water. And when they're faced with a situation where they have to get in the water to save someone or to help someone, like a child, for example, or a grandchild, you just have that moment of adrenaline that comes through your body, and you just either run, avoid it and get some help if you absolutely cannot help, go into the water, or you just go ahead and overcome your fear. Has this ever happened to you? I mean, have you ever been faced with a situation where you've been afraid of something but had to deal with it because there was a reason, there was somebody that you loved, or a situation that you just had to be involved in to help? I think I can think of a few, but that's nothing. So what do you fear? I mean, fear is, sometimes it's conditional based on an experience. Like maybe you don't like water because you had an experience with it when you were a child, or maybe it's something that you've developed over time because you've had a series of maybe you're afraid of getting involved in a relationship. It could be something like that. It doesn't have to be like a fear of something. It could be a fear of an emotion or a fear of a situation. It's really, really, important. As we get older, though, I do think, maybe you can all either validate this or not. I do think that we start to overcome our fears of things, and we start to be more, just relaxed about things. Now, I probably will never be comfortable with spiders and ants, but I am more comfortable with people these days. Now, I used to, like maybe perhaps many of you, worry about what people thought of me. When I went out, I thought I had to dress a certain way, or I couldn't dress a certain way. And then I realized, no one's looking. No one is really looking at all. And if they are, it's like, maybe it's a positive thing. Maybe they're looking at you and thinking, oh, that's kind of cool, or that's interesting woman, or whatever. It doesn't matter what they think. But as we get older, I think we start to kind of soften those edges so that we don't think. And by the way, most of the time, we're just part of someone else's movie. They're just watching the world go by, and we happen to be in it, and, we just play a part. But, it just doesn't matter anymore. And I think I certainly have, became less judgmental. I don't know about you, but it's just more accepting of the world. Just, fight or flight is your way of knowing what you can handle, what you can deal with. And as we get older, I think we get better at, assessing the situation and making the right decision. So what do you think? What things are you fearful of? And how do you manage that? I guess that's a really important question. What do you do to deal with those fears? What situations are you inclined to fight and stop and deal with? What situations are you more likely to avoid and move away from? Fight or flight, or are you pretty much a freezer? You just freeze. Can't do anything, go and have a cup of tea. But I just think how we manage these situations, are the things that we fear, the things that we don't understand, the things that we, are worried about. That just gives us a maturity and a perspective that's unique. And I think that, as I've said many, many times, women as they get older are more relevant in stressful times, in troubled times, turbulent times than any other age category, because we've just done what I just have gone through. We've assessed where our boundaries are. So I'd love to know what you're thinking about this, and leave your comments in the section below. I'm with you always, by your side in this crazy world, crazy journey, but know that you're loved and respected, and your opinions matter. And just leave your comments about this whole idea of resilience, how resilient you really think that you are. Have a fabulous day, everybody. Take really good care. Bye for now.